Nikola Vučević is quietly playing some of the best basketball he's ever played in the Chicago Bulls uniform, and he's doing it in a little bit of a different way than he's done it before. We're going to explain that and talk about that. And is he doing this because he's found his groove with this young team, or is he more motivated to eventually get moved away from the Chicago Bulls? We're going to talk about those things, plus Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis. And once Kobe comes back as well, could this now be the trio that leads the Chicago Bulls back into the playoffs? I actually think they will, and I'll explain that on today's episode. And then finally, we're going to preview tonight's matchup against the New York Knicks and why it's going to be a defensive matchup more than an offensive one. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. Before we get into the scheduled content, I got to talk my shit, right? So, as many people know, I've been one of the more optimistic Bulls fans, and in that, I've talked a lot about the people around this team that cover this team that in the offseason had nothing but negativity to say about this team. And that has seemed to trigger a few people, some that I actually have a lot of love for, and some that I don't really give a shit about, right? And so I'm going to spend the opening of this episode addressing a little bit. I want to address it's only been 4 gamers, right? And I want to address this in a couple of different perspectives, right? First off, yes, it has only been 4 games. Now, if you factor in the fact that this Bulls team also feels like they are picking up right where they left off in the last 20 games that people were telling you doesn't matter, okay, let's even take that away, right? Let's focus on this, right? When I said on the live stream after the last game against the Kings, and I talked about take culture, right? I think there's now been some miscommunication and misunderstanding on what take culture is. Take culture isn't the absence of having a take or having a take. That's everybody has a take on something that they consume. It was more so directed towards the people that have spent the majority of this offseason for the Chicago Bulls saying, oh my God, you guys have been, you're falling for what the front office is selling you. If you think this team is going to be any better than what it's been, the last 10 years have been XYZ. We should be that's what I'm talking about. Right? Because it's the silliness in that. The fact that it's been so many people that are supposed to be sitting here truly evaluating this team and have been more caught up in their PTSD over where the team has been over the last decade than actually having a real evaluation of this team. See, the thing is, right, and I'm going to stand on this, and if anybody further feels a way about this, come and feel free to challenge me. There's not many people in this space that can talk actual basketball with me. Right? There are some great pundits. There are some great people that have great takes on this team. And there are amazing personalities in covering the Chicago Bulls. And there's a level of all of that. But if you don't have either the knowledge or the desire to be able to talk actual basketball and you want to focus more on your takes, that's fine. That is your avenue, right? But at the same time, when you look and evaluate a basketball team and you want to talk down to the people that look at how this team, what they have done and what they've added and where things have improved at. See, the thing that people lose in this game, the one thing that I never want to lose is objectivity. And there are so many people in this content game that lose objectivity and more so want to be the personality. They want to be the story. They want to be the draw. What have I said all season long? This ain't about me. This is about Bulls fans. This is about evaluating the Chicago Bulls. Haize can go away tomorrow, and there are going to be thousands of people ready to step in and deliver amazing Chicago Bulls content. The fact of the matter is there are too many people in this game that get caught up and bought into their own hype. Now, am I good at this? Yeah, I would like to think so. And that's perfectly fine. But what makes me good isn't the nature of Haize is just some amazing, nobody can touch me. It's the fact that when you come here to Chicago Bulls Central, you're going to get honest evaluation. Most of the time, I'm not even giving just my opinion. I'm looking at it and filtering through everything that's going on with this team and really trying to take a look at, all right, this is why over the last almost 2 years now, usually when I have a perspective, I try to also offer the counter perspective to it. And not everybody has to do that. Not everybody is built to do it that way. But I try to offer the counter perspective to it because, yeah, I may have my opinion on it. But guess what? these are things that also could cause it to go the other way, right? And so if anybody finds themselves in their feelings about me calling out the people that spent all offseason talking down on this team and acting like you can see, the difference is I'm not even saying that after a 4-0 start that the Bulls are some championship contender. All I'm saying is that they have a path forward, that they look like they have started discovering their direction. And this team has been directionless for so long, but through that directionlessness, now you have seen and found content creators that have no direction because they have tied their identity so much to just saying the Bulls are going to struggle. They've tied their content so much to just naysaying the Chicago Bulls. And that's not what we do here. This is a true spot to evaluate the Chicago Bulls. And guess what? I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to be right sometimes, but I'm going to be wrong sometimes as well. And one of the things that I hung my hat on this offseason is saying, hey, I feel like this team has improved. And one thing that is always hard to evaluate with content and with sports is that how players are going to perform together, right? And there have been a lot of people that over this summer have said, oh, well, the Bulls aren't going to improve. Or people that said, hey, Josh Giddey isn't worth this money. Now look at how Josh Giddey's playing, right? Look at how Josh Giddey has adapted his game, playing more off ball. His defensive step that now it's been 4 games, we got to see. But again, if you pair that with the last 20 last year as well, we're starting to see some of that. What have I always said? I want to hold players accountable to what they say for themselves. Josh Giddey said last season, hey, the player that you saw more towards the end of the season, that's more like who I can be for this Bulls team going forward. And what has he shown? Take that for what you will. But I'm here to say this, and I want to say this adamantly. This ain't even Petty Roosevelt. This is Cordero speaking to whoever. If you feel a way about what something that's said on Chicago Bulls Central, take those feelings, ball it up, or show the fuck up, and we can have a discussion. Other than that, if you're not willing to have the discussion, I will come on your platform. You can come on my platform. I don't care who it is. I don't care if I love you or hate you. If you're Joe Cowley or Ricky O'Connor, whoever it is, if you got something to say or you feel a way about something I said, please show up. We can talk about it. We can debate it in a sensible fashion. And if not, take your feelings, take your triggerness over what I said, ball it up and shove it up your ass. All right, with that said, let's get into the content for today. I want to start off talking about Nikola Vučević and what Vooch has done this season so far, right? And I want to have an honest evaluation on it. Now, I know that there are some Bulls fans that look at what Nikola Vučević is doing, and they are asking the legitimate question, is this just all to eventually move Vooch? Is Vooch more motivated to show improved teams that if they trade for him, that this is what they're going to be getting? It could be, right? But I want to focus on what he's doing for the Chicago Bulls right now. Vooch has quietly been not only one of the Bulls' most consistent players, but one of the Bulls' best players to start this year. Vooch is averaging 18 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal. He's doing that on only 12 shots per game. Do you know what that is? To almost average 20 and 13 off 12 shots a game is ridiculous, right? Vooch has the lowest usage rate so far of his since the 2013-14 season. And so Vooch is doing it in a way, and there are a lot of people this offseason that ask, well, is Vooch going to be taking shots away from players that we want like Matas to develop? And I get that question, right? But he's doing it off 12 shots. He's having a low usage rate, and Vooch's assisted shots, right? So he's being assisted on almost 89% of his shots. That means that he is actually taking a step back and playing and reading and reacting off the ball handlers and allowing other people to create for him. I think that's why we're seeing the shooting splits that we're seeing for Nikola Vučević and him having the season that he's having and being so efficient is because he is allowing other players to create for him. He's not trying to take a lot of players off the dribble, right? He's not trying to do a lot of things to where he's taking a lot of jump shots out on the perimeter either. Vooch is legitimately allowing himself to be a piece of the team. And so while the points per game production is great, right? He's 6th in the league overall in rebounds as things stand right now. He's also averaging 5 assists per game. Vooch, as good as anyone, has really bought into this new culture that the Chicago Bulls are trying to build here. And I got to give him credit for that. And that's not easy for a veteran to do. Vooch is shooting 58% from the field right now. Now, that is going to be extremely difficult to maintain for a full season, but it would be the highest field goal shooting percentage of Vooch's career. Keep in mind, though, he had the highest shooting percentage of his career last season, and that was because he allowed Josh Giddey to create for him. He's shooting 50% from 3, and he's shooting 100% from the free throw line so far this season. Vooch is having a big and major impact for this Bulls on offense. And the thing that I want to talk about, and I said it, Vooch's defense this year. Vooch is only allowing 53.8% shooting right at the rim, which is lower than league average. I know over 50% shooting generally sounds bad. When you're at the rim, you're talking about, the league average being about 55, 56%. So Vooch is averaging lower than league average at the shots that he's allowing at the rim. And on top of that, Vooch last season allowed almost 60% at the rim. Vooch has definitely made a defensive step up. Now, in no way am I saying that Vooch is all of a sudden a rim protector, the rim protector that the Bulls need long term. I'm just saying that Vooch, at being 35 years old and in year 15, I believe, has allowed himself to buy in to the Chicago Bulls culture that we're trying to build here. He's allowed himself to say, all right, bet these young guys are out here sacrificing. I'm going to go out here and sacrifice with them, right? Now, the question that we had here and we presented and started this off with, is this Vooch now who he's going to be? Or is this a Vooch playing motivated to show other teams, hey, I can fit into what you need me to do? Because he does ultimately want, like Vooch has talked about, wanting to compete and wanting to fight for something over the last little stage of his career, right? But I'm going to also offer the counter argument to this. Nikola Vučević, in my personal opinion, is just somebody who wants to make sure that he's on a team that has a direction. So I don't know if I buy into Vooch is just trying to get out of Chicago. I'm not saying that it's not a possibility either. But I do think, and it feels like this is a player that now sees and feels like, hey, there is something here with this team, and I'm motivated by that. I'm energized by that. I'm at probably my next contract is going to be my last contract in the NBA, and I'm motivated by that. 35 is not old by any stretch of the imagination in real life, but in basketball, that is very long in the tooth, doing this for 15 years. And now in year 15, we are seeing some of the most motivated basketball that we've seen from the Chicago Bulls in a while. Now, there's no doubt that the Bulls I'll say this, they should look to gauge the value of Nikola Vučević. And in my opinion, I've said this, I say that about every expiring contract. I want to be clear here. Every expiring contract, I feel like you should see what the value is. Now, I do also think that in the modern NBA, we're seeing that expiring contracts don't hold the value that they once had, even 5 years ago. You used to look at expiring contracts and you knew that contract was probably, if the team wanted to move them, the team was going to be able to move them because there are going to be other teams around the NBA. They looked at that and said, hey, listen, it's expiring. We can get them. We can re-sign them. We don't have to give up a bunch of future assets for it. But now we don't necessarily see that as much around the NBA. So we'll see what the future does hold for Vooch. But I'm going to come out this segment asking you guys this. When it comes to Nikola Vučević's play, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's going to be sustainable for him, especially playing off the younger players here? And do you think that this is all kind of directed to get Vooch out of here? Or like me, and I've said this months ago, don't be surprised if Nikola Vučević ends up signing like a new contract like Lonzo did. Now, that doesn't mean he can't still be moved in the offseason, but we shall see. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. All right, let's get into the next topic. For all those take people, I got a take for you. The Bulls are making the playoffs this year. I really believe that the Bulls are making the playoffs. And there's a couple of different reasons that I feel like the Bulls are making the playoffs. This isn't just about the 4 games here. I mean, I'm not going to act like that doesn't play a part into it. But look at the Eastern Conference and where things stand right now. The Indiana Pacers have not won a single game. That was a team that had been towards the top of the East the last few years. The Boston Celtics have 2 wins right now on the year. Now, they do have a plus 7 point differential, which shows, hey, they're competing more than what I think their record shows, which is really good, right? And I've always said to you guys, point differential is really the thing that ends up always working out. Now, point differential can change as well, but as the season goes on, look less at the record and look more at the point differential. Typically, the way the point differentials work out is almost how the standings work out more times than not, right? So look at that. But with that said, that teams that made moves in the offseason that were looking like we're going to be, really moving up, the Atlanta Hawks have not looked great at all yet this season. The Detroit Pistons have looked mid, but I still trust they got Cade. They're still going to be a good team. The Cleveland Cavaliers aren't even in the top 5 teams of the Eastern Conference yet. Now, it's a very small sample size, but the East is in a place right now to where I truly think a team like the Chicago Bulls that do it connectedly, right, that do it based off of how they are as a team. This is a year where that type of team can make some solid movements in the Eastern Conference. And I do think that this is going to be a team. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to make the playoffs outright. They may still have to go through the plan because, as we know, Cleveland could hit another run. The Detroit Pistons could hit another run. The Orlando Magic, who right now would be outside of things, we know that they have better basketball left in the tank. Palos is off to a horrible start to the season. And you would like to think that eventually he's going to wake up. But the East, coming into this, a lot of people said that the East was wide open. And I had fought back and said, I don't know if it's wide open, but I do think it's more open than before. But I think now, like, you're seeing how the East can be open at the small part of the season. Now, let's wait till we get to 20, 25 games-ish before we really start evaluating how the East looks like it's going to shake up. Because we've seen teams before be an 8 seed, and then by February, they're a top 5 seed, right? But I think when you look at the Bulls, right, not only do they have the play style, that they have the play of the players. Josh Giddey has been nothing less than spectacular through the first week of the season. He just has been, right? The game that he's had, his ability to take players off the dribble, his off-ball work has been better this year with playing off Trey Jones a little bit better, right? You see a Josh Giddey that's getting to the rim more. He's settling less for those floaters and getting actually to the rim more, which is leading to him getting to the free throw line 7 times per game, more than doubling the most that he's ever had in this NBA career. All those things are coming down to it. He's shooting 43% from deep so far to start off the season. But then you also have the Matas Buzelis part of this all. The slashing, the cutting, the spot-up shooting that Matas Buzelis has displayed so far this season. And it seems like Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis are developing chemistry. With the Eastern Conference, the thing that you always need is you need one or two, right? You need one or two guys that have great chemistry. Now, usually if you have a player that can play as a superstar to end the season, Jimmy Butler did it with the Heat a lot of times. But when we just talk about Nikola Vučević having some of his best, we haven't even seen Kobe White yet. This Bulls team that has players that not only fit into their roles, but are buying into the roles and thriving in the roles that they have here. We are seeing that this now is a team that can fight above its weight. And if they maintain that throughout the entirety of the season, it does have the feel of a team that is going to be contending for a playoff spot. So for all my Bulls, again, go back to the naysayers that have spent so much time, talking about this Bulls team, I think this is a team that is going to compete. And more than anything else, the thing that I feel about this team is that this team, once again, has an identity, or it's building an identity. It feels like the identity of what this team is going to be is like those baby Bulls teams the 2 or 3 years before Derrick Rose came here. The teams that consistently had over 40 wins. The teams that were consistently one of the toughest teams to play. Even if you beat them, you felt that you had to play the Chicago Bulls. This team is building that type of identity, and these are the type of teams that I'm more than willing and loving to really buy into, right? So as the Bulls continue this and they continue to go through this, it seems like this is a team that is not only has understood what and how they can play together, but they are thriving in that. And that is their identity. It's not just about one, right? And even my Josh Giddey stands who come here and say, well, Josh Giddey's he's the only identity. He's like, nah, you're doing this as a team. And that's no knock on Josh. Josh Giddey has been amazing. But guess what? So is Trey Jones. So is Nikola Vučević. So is Ayo Dosunmu as a 6th man. So is Matas Buzelis. And it's the connectivity of being able to do that as a team that actually makes this Bulls team more dangerous. And I think that this is a team that will make the playoffs this year. I already know there's going to be people who pin this. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. And again, I'm saying all this without injury. We'll see what happens when Kobe White and Zach Collins comes back as well. But moving on from that, we do have a game today against the New York Knicks, and there's a lot to come into this game. This is the Bulls' probably toughest matchup so far this season. This is an in-season tournament game as well. And so with that, the New York Knicks are coming into this game 2-2, right? So sit perfectly at 500, right? They have the 25th ranked offense with an offensive rating of 112.2. So they're going to be matching up with the Bulls defense that has come in with the 3rd best defense in the league and a defensive rating of 107.5 to start off the season. Meaning what? This is going to be a team that, and keep in mind, the Bulls offense isn't great either. Now, the Bulls offense is ranked above the New York Knicks. The Bulls come in with the 16th ranked offense and an offensive rating of 116. But this could be a game that comes down to who makes the defensive stops. Now, there are some things that about the Knicks offense that still the Bulls have to look out for. The New York Knicks are 3rd in the league at 3-point attempts per game. So the Bulls' 3-point defense is going to be tested. Yes, the Bulls have had a really good 3-point defense. Teams are shooting very cold from 3-point range. But with the New York Knicks taking as many attempts that they take per game, it could be worried. Now, for what it's worth, the Knicks are only shooting 33% on 3-pointers. That's 24th in the NBA in threes, right? But the Bulls are going to have to defend the 3-point line with everything, every fiber of their being, because the Knicks are going to get those 3-point shots up. And if they get hot in those 3-point shots, that's something that the Bulls just have not had to face and deal with so far this season, is a team that gets really hot from 3. So we got to watch that. And could this be a game where the Knicks do catch that rhythm from three? It could be. I mean, any team that takes the amount of three-point attempts that the New York Knicks take are always going to have the chance to get hot, right? And so that's something that the Bulls have to look out for. The Knicks are taking 45 threes per game so far this season. That's a huge, huge margin there, right? So we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing there. And so that's what the Bulls really have to look out for. With the New York Knicks taking that amount of threes, keep in mind, the Knicks right now are taking on the season, are taking 90 shots per game is what they're taking. And if 45 of those, so almost half their total shots that they take are three-pointers. That's what the Bulls have to look out for in this game. You cannot allow this New York Knicks team to get hot. So the Bulls' three-point defense is definitely going to be tested. But last thing that I want to talk about before we get out of here, the New York Knicks defense has been very solid to start off this season. Now, that shouldn't be any mark. Like, the defense was surprisingly one of the things that weren't great under Tom Thibodeau. But the Knicks are coming into this game with the 8th overall defensive rating. Keep in mind, the Bulls have the 3rd overall defensive rating. So again, this could come down to who makes the right stops. The Knicks are only giving up 110 points per game, and it's crazy when no team is giving up less than 100 points per game. It's crazy that the amount of points that are being scored. But the Knicks are also protecting the paint really well so far this season. And the Bulls love to attack the rim. So what that means is that the Bulls are going to be pressuring the Knicks paint defense. Now, does that mean that we could put the Knicks in foul trouble? Possibly. But it could mean that the Bulls may have to have a better three-point shooting percentage. The Knicks have been horrible at guarding the three so far this season. But I will say this, I don't want to see the Bulls fall in love with the three-point shot like we've seen them do in stretches this season. I don't even think they've done it necessarily. I think for the whole first quarter, they did it against the Magic, but then they woke up. But I don't want to see the Bulls falling in love with three-point shots. They cannot fall in love with three-point shots. They have to continually attack the paint and allow that attacking to open up the three-point shot. Again, the Knicks have been really good at attacking the paint. So this is going to be a big game in where the Knicks' strengths and the Bulls' strengths are kind of overlapping. And so it's which one can take away the strength from the other team earliest and most consistently. That's going to be the thing to watch in this game for the Chicago Bulls. And we'll see what they can do, man. Overall, I'm hoping for a really fun and exciting game, and we'll see what's going to happen, man. But that's my time, man. I appreciate you guys, man. That is my time for today's episode. Vooch is going to continue to remind everybody that he's one of the most underrated bigs in the NBA, period. Josh Giddey's leadership has been amazing so far and has helped the Bulls find their new identity and consistency. But I do want to hear from you guys on this one. Do you think the Bulls should ride this out and push for the playoffs, or should they cash in on Nikola Vučević's trade value if it's high? Drop your thoughts and comments here. You can hit me up on social. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you ready for Can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.